Good morning, people of God. It is Friday, September 25th, and these are the announcements for the upcoming kind of week-ish month or so. We're still trying to figure out how we share that information with you during this time. This coming Sunday, September 27th, we will have the affirmation of baptism for Tarver Selwood and uh, Brant Larson. So that'll happen at the atrium at 10:30 a.m. That service, and we'll continue to meet at the atrium as long as Mother Nature allows us to do so at 10:30 on Sunday mornings. That's a bring your own chair, bring your own bread, wine, or juice, those communion elements with you. And we'll gather out on the lawn. And then, of course, bring your mask with in case you want to talk to your buddy or sit closer to someone you haven't seen in a while, because we know that we all miss each other still. So that's one thing. Also coming up on October, the last Sunday of October, which I think might be the 26th of October, but whatever that last Sunday of October is, that will be our annual meeting. Normally that would happen like last week or this week, but the council decided that they needed a little more time to figure out how to have that meeting while we may not all be able to be in the same place. So that'll happen on the last Sunday of October, and also on the last Sunday of October will be New Member Sunday. So even during the pandemic, we have people who want to be part of the life and ministry of this congregation, and so if that is you, contact me and we'll have you be part of that, whatever that looks like. That's still to be decided or determined. And then finally, we usually start talking about the silent auction about this time of the year. And as you may have already heard, we've decided not to have the in-person silent auction like we have done in the years past this year, due to COVID and the uncertainty of everything and not wanting to put in a lot of time and energy into something that may or may not be. And so we have decided to pull what that one big event was, we've decided to pull that apart into multiple little pieces with monies being designated to different things. So the first is a soup fundraiser. The temperatures are already starting to get more like fall weather, and so comfort food is in, like soup. So you'll receive an order form in the email. It'll go on the Facebook page as well. That's going to be $10 a quart. So like cheeseburger soup, chicken wild rice, and some just a vegetable soup. The money from that fundraiser will go to help us in our efforts towards paying for our tech equipment. I'm happy to say that we are at a little over $7,000. I think it's $7,200 as of this week that have been raised for about the $10,000 that we think it would take to purchase all of that equipment and get us up and going, so we can continue to have an online presence all year round. Think of winter for many of us. That'll be a nice added piece to our ministry here. The next one behind the soup will be, actually just a little bit more about the soup. So the order form will go live, obviously, like today or tomorrow. And then you'll be able to pick those up on Saturday, October 10th from 4 to 6 p.m. Then the one that will be kind of right on the heels of that will be the pulled pork dinner. So that is the stuff the pork that Dale makes, and it's delicious. And so that will be pick up on Saturday, October 24th. The money from that fundraiser will go to help support Chuck Shingledecker in his seminary efforts, a member of our congregation who is attending seminary at Wartburg, and we want to help support him in that way. Then there will be an online auction. It'll be some form, and more details will come as we get a little closer to that. And then Thanksgiving pies, there's going to be 4 different kinds of pies. I cannot remember them off the top of my head. All I know is that I will get to eat pie a lot in November and December. And then in December, we'll do some kind of Christmas cookie platters. Again, we'll share what each of those fundraisers or those opportunities to participate in the ministry of the church, those monies will go towards. They'll all be designated for different things. Finally, we're going to do a fall book study. Well, three different book studies this fall, rather. And before I list off the books, just a note to say about book studies is that they are meant to start a conversation around a topic. And so as you read these books, even as I read these books, I have read all of these books that we are going to read. There are things that I agree with, and there are things that I disagree with. There are things that I am challenged by, and discomforted by, and there are other things that I'm like that will resonate with you, and you're like, oh yeah, that's totally what I'm doing or how I feel, right? And so just keep that in mind as we enter into these book studies. The first book study, which is kind of slated for October, but we'll shift these dates as necessary, given that it is almost October already. But the first book will be Dear Church, a love letter by from a black preacher to the whitest denomination in the U.S., by Reverend Lenny Duncan. He is a pastor in this church and serves a congregation in Brooklyn. The next book will be Sarah Miles. That's kind of slated for November. The next book, it's by Sarah Miles, and is titled Take and Eat, and it is about her radical conversion to becoming a person of faith. She grew up, or as far as I remember, grew up not going to church or being part of the church kind of a thing, and stumbled into a church one Sunday morning on her walk around San Francisco, went up and partook in communion and had a complete transformation of heart and mind. And it talks about food pantries, and so it's a really kind of a fun book. And then the third one to round out the year, so December, will be Searching for Sundays, Loving, Leaving, and Finding the Church by the late Rachel Held Evans. And so that's just about her experience of growing up in the church. Her parents were church planters, and then leaving the church and then finding her way back. And whether we have been attending a church or part of a congregation our entire life, or have bounced around or left altogether and come back, I think that book has something for each of us in our faith journey. There will be a sign up for that. So, and those books, as you sign up, we received a $250 grant. So we will buy books, as many as we can, starting with the first one and going until we can't purchase them anymore. And then the other thing about those book studies is sign up. We will have one or two different groups, and those groups will determine what time works best for them to meet. So instead of like the Sunday morning after church kind of a thing, those groups may pick a time that works best for them. Finally, there are some adult Bible study opportunities for you to partake in here at Our Savior's. And the first is the Wednesday morning Bible study at 10. That's still happening, and that group kind of determines what they're going to talk about the next week. And so sometimes we work through a book of the Bible, and sometimes we take more a theme like hospitality, or what does it mean to love our neighbor, and dive into scripture that way. Then when there is a Wednesday night Bible study at 7:30 p.m., and the texts for that Bible study are literally the texts that we use for Sunday morning worship. In each of those texts, that's a time for us to dive a little deeper, have conversations around a text that we don't get to have in worship on Sunday morning. And so it might be a fun way for you to prepare for worship the upcoming Sunday, as you dive into those and then listen to it being read again and a sermon on those texts. There are so many ways to be involved in the life and ministry of this congregation, and if you have ideas on things you'd like to see happening or are trying to find your way, just contact me. You can do that at pastorjasonclifton@gmail.com, and we can get you set up. I miss seeing all of you, and I look forward to when we can be back to some semblance of what we remember worship being in this space. God bless, and have a wonderful week.